Hello, it's Barry.
It's Nate.
It's Brian.
And welcome to the Collecti-Bros podcast. On this glorious episode, the cold season of January. I think it's January.
Yes.
If it's not January, then I'm sorry.
Something happened if it's not January.
This episode is going to be all about remasters and remakes. Are they a good thing? Are they a bad thing? Have they ruined the gaming industry's expectations? Have they increased our love for games? Am I getting a phone call? Yes, I am. That's the comic book store. Telling me my books are there. So we're going to talk about remakes, remasters, how we think they've affected things, collecting habits of those, because that has a lot to do with collecting when things are remade or remastered, either good or bad as well. Before we get straight into the episode, one, I would ask you if you would be interested to check us out on social media, but that's at Collecti-Bros Pod. But more so, check out our Discord channel. We're very much active in the Discord channel, opposed to social media. So please, if you want to chat with us, the link is in the show notes with the invite. Any more announcements other than that? That's not really an announcement. Look forward to our Patreon this year, still not existing because we won't have that. What else?
Got really cool heavy-duty coins to give out if you join it.
Yeah, we won't have any. We won't have any heavy-duty coins.
On the RV project.
We won't have pictures of Brian's feet.
That's for the top level Patreon. Instant mashed potatoes.
That's for the OF, bro.
Yep.
That's how you get an RV.
The OnlyFans podcast is
Why he failed. He didn't put some feet fixed.
instant potatoes between feet.
Oh my god.
I can't. All right.
That's just a tease.
What we've playing and what we've picked up. It's been a wild ride recently. We just came off the holidays. People have been busy.
Extremely.
Had a little bit of time to chill out so far. Not really, I feel like, as much as we all have wanted.
Hell no.
So, what have you guys been playing recently and or have picked up? If you got any good did anybody get video game stuff for Christmas?
You got me something for Christmas. That's it.
I mean, that was like offhanded, I suppose.
Nate
but...
got me a pretty sweet Welmer plush.
Okay.
So yeah, Nate's doing, You gave me a great video game gift. What are you talking about?
What?
Our fishing excursion, dude. It was awesome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That episode where I promised that I was going to play... hold on, I know the name of it. The Hunt Fishing.
Oh, Call of the Wild.
Call of the Wild.
The Angler.
The Angler. You know what?
It's all right. You're not wrong.
We did play it on Christmas Eve. We did play it.
It was glorious.
Glorious is a word for it.
Yeah.
I got basically like no bites.
Bro, the first 30 minutes, I was like, oh yeah, I'm excited to play this shit. I was talking it up. And I was like, Barry, I'm getting nothing. What did they do to this game? Like, I don't know if they patched it or what.
I got on before you so
nothing.
I could get through the tutorial and like not look like a complete like sham. And I'm running around being like, dude, I can't. Is this was what Brian was excited about? I was like, what?
I don't know what they did to this game, y'all.
The most exciting thing that happened in that game, honestly, is getting in the Jeep.
Yeah, teleporter.
Getting in the Jeep, and I was trying to drive around like a reservoir or a lake or something so we could get to a dock because there was supposedly a fish there that I needed to catch. And I thought we could take a shortcut off of the road. Ended up being a cliff, so I just launched the Jeep off of the cliff and it went straight into the water.
Yeah, I died instantly. Teleport back to shore.
We both died instantly. Brian got the teleport straight to the shore, and then like the shore, like where the car crashed.
Yeah,
he just got to put back like up on the bank. I got teleported on the other side of the lake.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They put me at another place, so I had to get into a boat and drive my happy ass up there because I didn't have fast travel unlocked at that point. Because we didn't make it to the fast travel point because I launched us. I just, murder-suicided us off of the cliff.
That was great. My second favorite memory of our excursion was I forgot I was using this ultralight rod.
Oh my
And I
god.
finally get a bite after like 30 minutes of nothing. And I'm sitting there like fighting this thing, like, Barry, this thing's huge. Like, oh my
Dude.
God. But 15 minutes, literally, me
He
just
was
trying to reel us in.
screaming. He was like, "This thing is huge, man! I've never had a fish fight this much."
And Barry's like, I
And
saw
so-
it, it's small.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's
So
not.
he's like, this thing's gotta be huge. Can you see it? And I see it jump out the water, and it's gotta be maybe like 4 inches long. And I was like, nah, dude, it's small. Like, I don't know what you're doing. I'm like, are you holding the reel button and this other button? He's like, yeah, I am. I don't know what's going on. I almost got it. Oh no, it went back out 15 feet. Oh no.
Bro, it was a fight. And then I realized it. Finally, it is just like a little midget fish. I was like, well, that happened. All right.
So yeah, that did happen.
It was fun. We had a funny moment. We were fishing under the bridge too, trying to get the bites on the whatever fish we needed for your quest.
A brown trout, I think.
Yeah.
It was a brown trout.
It was hilarious for all the wrong reasons. I don't know what they did to this game, but it's still.
Oh, and we climbed the mountain.
Oh yeah.
We climbed the mountain. So like this game is open world. This
like
game's
the
like
Skyrim
open
it.
world or whatever, right? So we start at the closest place I have to fast travel because I just started playing this game. So I need to go to this bridge that I saw on YouTube. Apparently the brown trout were at.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to this, and I was like, okay, well, there's a river that connects up there. We can get in a little speedboat. So we speedboat our little ass up there, and I drive us up to a point. Didn't realize there was a ford there. So first off, I got stuck on like a little tiny hill of sand and some
We're
rocks.
pushing the boat too across the.
And so I'm still in the boat, like gunning it and turning the rudder or whatever. And Brian's on the outside just trying to like body this boat back in. And it's not working. He's like, I can see you twisting, but it's not moving. So I get out of the boat, and then somehow I just am able to Hulk smash the boat off of the sandbank back into the water. And he's screaming. He's like, you got it, holy shit. Maybe it's because you rented the boat. only you can touch it. I don't know.
It gives you gamma strength if it's your vehicle.
Yeah,
basically,
so I was like, okay, sweet, no big deal. We'll get back in the boat. If we find any other ones, we'll just push ourselves. And then we get to the ford, where basically you can drive a whole ass car across because it's shallow enough. So I was like, look, Brian, I think we can push it over this one. And we sat there and tried for a couple minutes. And I was like, oh, we have to give up. And at that point, we were too far outside.
we were committed.
We were way too far outside of a fast travel point. And I was like, look, Brian, it's just over the mountain.
The funny part is like it's over the mountain. I'm like, oh, the small one. It's like, no, that one. And it's like Mount Doom.
The mountain was so tall. So I was like, do you think they'll let us walk over the mountain? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody's tried it. So how long? This is probably 10 minutes.
Our fishing game turned into a hiking game.
It was just a walking simulator because like we would be walking and you like surprisingly it would change the noise based on what you were walking on, whether it was like grass or snow or like rocks, which is impressive, weirdly. But we would get up there, and then finally we got up to the rock part and the steep part, and I was like, look, man, we're going up and we're not sliding back, so I think it's just gonna take a long time. So then you could like turn around and like see me like going
The sidewalk,
backwards.
the crab walk was the secret.
Yeah,
bro. You had
the
to like
crab
walk at
walk.
an angle, and you could like kind of turbo it.
So we were just staring at the ground, like walking up at this mountain, and we finally get to the top, or almost the top, and I turned around. I said, holy shit, Brian, turn around. And we saw how high up the map we were, dude. We were so high off the map.
Remember,
and
we
I'm
were
like,
trying to throw rods off
holy
into the lake
shit.
underneath. It's like, you missed.
Yeah,
Like,
so
no
we were at the
shit.
top, so we were trying to cast our reels down at the lake, and it just wouldn't. So eventually I did the sprint, and I tried to jump to see if it would just let me, like, fly down the mountain. No, because you only, like, if you jump, you can do a running start, and then you just jump vertically in the air. There's, like, no gravity propelling you forward. Like, there's no velocity to
There's
it.
a jump button in a fishing
There's a jump
game.
button.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
There's a jump button.
Yep.
We were trying to Skyrim up this with the jump button in the fishing game. So we finally got it down to the mountain, and we finally made it to the ridge, and then that's where we stopped.
Yeah, we're like, all right.
But we did climb a whole ass mountain, get my boat stuck, and kill us both with the vehicles. So
It was an adventure, and it was a blast for like all the reasons it shouldn't have been a blast, but we are literally cracking up the whole time.
yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was a weird experience with a fishing game.
Yeah, it was funny. Very funny.
We played that.
Yep. that was my Christmas miracle.
Nate, what did you get for Christmas?
Barry picked me up a special game I've been looking for a long time. It's Phantasy Star Portable 2 on the PSP. We were out and about and saw it. Was like, I was like, oh shit! So really appreciate that. It's very.
That was a
thoughtful.
good price
It was-
too. I pulled it off the shelf. I said, "Hey Nate, don't you need this?" And you were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Bro, this price is really good." It was like, I think I got on a discount for like 20 something, 28.
Nice.
or whatever. So I remember when I bought it, I spent like $50, $60
It's not an easy game to track down.
for the NTSC one is pretty
Right.
difficult. So I grabbed it and he was like, "No, I don't like have the money right now. It's the holidays, gotta save it." And I said, "Okay." So I just like grabbed it and kept walking. He's like, "That's a really good find for you though. Congrats, man." And I was like, "Oh, I already have this game." He's like, "Then why are you buying it?" And I'm like, "I'm buying it for you, you dumbass."
Very much appreciated.
I was just like, "Oh, okay," and I just like walked away with it in my
To be
hands.
fair, you do that. You're, all right, you just walk away sometimes. So, but no, that was extremely kind gesture. Thank you. As far as other pickups, there's 800 more server closures they announced. So, got a couple of the F1 games. There's a Micro Machines Xbox One PS4 game the servers are going down on, so I picked that up for cheap. I accidentally found out there's a 360 and Xbox One SKU of The Crew. So,
with separate achievement lists.
yeah.
Ew.
Fortunately.
Let's talk about the most like cliche, horrible story I've ever seen in a game. Like your brother's like a carjacking, street racing gang member, and he gets like double crossed by an FBI agent. So you could like go undercover, and I'm like, this is so lame, bro. It is the lamest.
It's the most Ubisoft shit I've ever
It
played.
is that's the best way of putting it. It is the most Ubisoft shit ever. But good pickup I did get. I did find Space Harrier 2 for basically cart price, but it's complete in box. So our local game store has a ton of Sega Genesis games right now, so I'm gonna kind of be over there like probably once a week, just kind of picking them up as I go because they're all priced as cart, and most of them are complete. If not complete, they at least have the box, so some of them are.
Oh,
worth
those
it.
are priced at cart, but not the Super Nintendo ones I want.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, there's a copy of Syndicate sitting over there. Like, I'm probably gonna go pick it up because it's like $40. So, but I just Space Hero 2 is what I've been looking for a while. I didn't feel like paying for it, and it was priced correctly, so I went ahead and picked that up. But as far as playing, I've been extremely busy the past month. Honestly, I've felt like I barely had to play games. I've just been playing Fortnite with the boys whenever they're on. So Megan, Cal, Barry, Brian, kind of an eclectic mix of whoever's on. So
did you play Witcher 3?
no, I haven't started it,
Oof.
but
I think you didn't bet your whole collection for it.
I wasn't.
I
started
texted
him with that
I
shit.
texted him. I was like, I don't remember. I don't know, a couple days ago or whatever, and I was like, "Hey man, did you play Witcher yet?" And he was like, "No, I'm on Fortnite." I just texted. What was it in all caps? I said, "Your collection is forfeit."
But thankfully, this week actually, I have 2 days where I literally have the house to myself and nothing to do. So I will start Witcher this week, 100% sure. So it's actually really exciting. It's like the perfect opportunity to start it. So I've got a lot of sick and vacation time at work saved up too. That's all I'm saying.
Might be real sick.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it for now. It's not super exciting, but honestly, the Phantasy Star Portable 2 is an extremely exciting find. So thank you, Barry. Brian, what you got?
I actually had some really cool pickups. Again, Nate and I went out to go find these server closer games, and I didn't find anything I needed except for like one. But a bunch of games I've been looking for, honestly. WarioWare Touched for the DS, it was like $15 off. So I was like, okay.
Wait. When did you guys go and do this?
Was it last Tuesday?
And I didn't get an invite?
I'm sorry.
Oh, right in the gut. Ugh.
My bad. Yeah.
Like you were doing something.
I haven't been doing shit for the last couple weeks.
I was just used to you doing something.
My bad.
Damn. All right, we owe a game hunt haul with Barry.
Yeah. Ended up picking the Fallout 4 Steelbook. It was like literally 99 cents. Nate found it actually, and he's like, "Here, I know you like Fallout." I was like, "Yeah, thank you." Earth Defense Force 4.1. Big fan of the series. Haven't played this one. It was like single digits. I think it was like $6 all day. My dumbass got Armored Core 4 because I thought that was one of the server closer games. Turns out it's Verdict Day. That's servers closing. But
that was a trip to read you go through.
yeah, dude. I was at work, half paying attention. Tried to
This
put
guy.
it in Discord. Be like, "Hey, heads up, these servers are closing." I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, it's not 4. It's 5."
Did you think the Roman numeral V stand
Yeah,
for 4?
Yeah.
Oh no!
No. I thought it was 5. I thought it was Armored Core 5, and it's Armored Core.
But then why did you buy 4?
Because I didn't click the article. I saw the screenshot, and I thought
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
I didn't read the article. I read the
it was 4. Learn your
title.
lessons. I mean, I needed it anyway, so could have been worse. I didn't have 4, so now I have 4.
So funny.
And even better, Verdict Day is a pretty expensive game. The cheapest copy on eBay is like $200. And I was like,
Yeah, we were seeing because everybody, like, as soon as it got announced, they
Yep.
gobbled them all
yeah,
up.
because it was going around 70, 75. And then as soon as they announced server closer, everyone's like, "Oh, people are going to be grabbing these." So they bump it up to a crazy price. Digital too. It's like $30 digitally.
20.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna buy it digitally if I can't find it. I was lucky enough to find a physical copy, so now I have that. I got 20% off, so I paid like $60 for it, I think. So not bad. Dark Souls 2, one of the server closer games. I got the Black Armor Edition. That's the one with the steelbook and slipcase, so whatever.
I think that steelbook is really cool, if
is.
not for the fact that it sticks out.
Yeah, it's a sick.
Does not fit on a shelf very well.
Yeah, I can imagine. I haven't put it on my shelf.
It definitely pushes it, whatever's next to it off to the
Yeah.
side. It's on
It
my
was cool,
shelf.
though.
And
It was the same price as normal one, so
plus
it's
it's
like
very hard to find a good condition one because of the shape of it. It just
Yeah.
beats up that slipcover.
And then I found a Xbox 360 game I've never seen the NTSC version of. It's Crash Time Autobahn Pursuit. Not to be confused with Autobahn Policia. But yeah, I've never seen the NTSC version of this game, so I picked it up. It was like $12, I think. I don't know if
Is it an expensive game?
No, it's not. It's just uncommon. You know, it's not rare or anything. Like you can find them on eBay, but I ain't about that life, bro. It's the first time I've seen it in person, so I picked it up. And then lastly, one I'm really excited about actually was the first Full Metal Alchemist PlayStation 2 game, The Broken Angel. So I've been looking for that one forever, and I've picked up the second one like 2 or 3 times, thinking that's the one I needed. So pretty happy to get that. Pretty stoked. Pretty good, nice little haul. Didn't find any of the games I needed except for the hardest one I didn't think I was going to get, Armored Core and Dark Souls. So
Yeah, I'm still surprised that just happened to be there.
yeah, I was like, holy shit. And then the guy wanted to argue with us about if it had a manual or not for the NTSC version, but don't get me started about that. It's all right. You can pull up this cool thing called eBay and Google and find out.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
sick.
why I'm at this point where, like, I won't ask them if it has a manual. I'll just be like, can I see it? And open it up. But apparently you can't touch things anymore without giving your ID.
It's just the one location. This guy let him touch that Armored Core.
God. Oh, they did?
Yeah, he was all about, hey, look at it. So he wanted to talk about Armored Core so bad with
He was
somebody.
like, you
so
play,
he,
bro? You play AC? He was like,
He-
Assassin's Creed? No, bro. I'm pretty good.
I asked to look at a $60 Nintendo game and was like, you need to give me your ID if you want to touch it. And I was like, why? And they're like, it's holiday policy. I'm like, there's a game in here for $400 right next to it. I didn't ask for.
To be fair, we were on the nice side of town when this happened, so.
Oh, you not our side
Not
of
our
town?
side of town, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's weird because I remember when we worked there, that wasn't the policy. But anyway,
Well, there was a lot of things that weren't there
Sure
Yeah.
was.
You know.
mainly us.
and still aren't there.
Shit.
Are you done?
Yeah.
You can pass it off?
Apparently not.
Yeah, Barry. Did you pick up anything? Been playing anything other than fishing?
I got a Steam Deck.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't buy anything else. I just got I don't even, hold on. Let me double check. I don't even think I've got any pre-orders in.
No Xseed games pop up in the mail.
Yeah, right.
It's been 2 weeks. I'm surprised.
There was one day, I don't remember what day this was, but I was with you when I went to actually look at that game that they told me I needed an ID
Yeah.
for. I got Legend of Mana. I didn't have it. I thought I had it for a long time and I didn't have that one, so I grabbed it.
Nice.
I paid a little bit more than what it was worth, but it is super clean. Even though they're having a remake coming out, which is great on point for this episode, there's I think a Switch remaster or a port or something coming out for it. I can't
You
remember.
do another remake like they did with Secret?
No, I
I'd say
don't
that worked out
think
well for 'em last
so.
time,
I don't think so. I could be
Probably
wrong.
smart.
I haven't looked at it. It's the PS1 one. I need the
Oh,
PS1
okay,
one.
okay.
So
Yeah, I was shocked he didn't have that. I was like, what are you doing with that? Is
Yeah.
it a big deal?
I swore I did for the longest time. It's the same deal as Tactics. I swore I had that one for the longest time and didn't. So I have to like go through my collection one more time to make sure I'm not, lying to myself. But I got a Steam Deck. I haven't really done too much with it yet. I got the OLED one because I've been wanting one for a while. I think I've talked about it a little bit, but I think a little bit after I started like saving for it is when they announced the OLED. So the LCD model is like really cheap right now, but I was like, I'll just go ahead and get the OLED because I was already prepared to pay that price. They're not higher. They're the same price as the other ones were. It's supposed to have a little bit of a better battery life. Screen's supposed to be a little bit bigger. The cooling is supposed to be better on it. I don't know. I'm not playing like crazy stuff on there. But I picked that up. I don't really have too many like first impressions quite yet. I will say, not a big fan of Steam's UI. I just don't like it. Especially considering, like, part of it you can use the touchscreen for, and then part of it you can't use the touchscreen for and have to use, like, the controller controls to do anything, which is really confusing. It feels quality, but it's tiring to hold. Because I know you guys are holding it. It's just the way it's not ergonomic at all to me. It's like you have to have the hands the size of, like, a basketball player to hold this in the way that they designed it. So the way I'm supposed to hold it, like, pinches, like, the inside of my hand at a weird point. So if I hold it for too long, like, my hands go numb. Because I'm pretty sure there's a nerve right where I'm trying to hold on to it. So I basically have to, like, lay down and put a little pillow and then put the bottom of the Steam Deck on the pillow and hold it up so I can take my palms off of the bottom of the Steam Deck. And I don't have small hands. Right? Like, either I have big hands for my size or you guys have little hands for your size, because we have the same size hands.
Yeah.
And I'm 5 inches shorter than you guys.
My hands are normal. Yours are a little bigger.
So let's see, I don't have, like, tiny hands. It was just, like, it's exhausting to hold it for too long.
I get cramps if I hold a Switch, I think, portably.
Bro, our problems were all fingers, bro. Look at this. It's freaky. Some alien boys. So you have good, like, this. Yours
I have
like,
a good proportioned hand.
Yeah, mine's all like, that's creepy. It's like a chicken's head, bro. It's all fucking.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, I'm still getting into this Steam Deck.
Picture for you guys.
Yeah, hand pictures. As far as what I've been playing, I finally started Monster Hunter Stories 2 because I wanted to play that for so long. And it is a beautiful looking game. The story is actually a lot more decent than the first game. The amount of monsters that you can get is crazy. Like, I will do a story point because there's only certain monsters you can unlock after you beat them. So basically what you do, it's like, if you don't like Monster Hunter and you like Pokemon, this is like the game for you. It's monster collecting, it's turn-based combat, and it's like a rock, paper, scissors style combat, but it is turn-based, so it's not as crazy as, like, learning all this crazy stuff with their weapons that will just slap you in one hit. But you have to search out monster dens and then go in the dens and dig up eggs, and then it'll randomly give you an egg based on what monsters are supposed to be in that region. And then there are rare monster dens that will give you rare monsters only available in those dens. There's also gene splicing in this game, so you can get more rare eggs that'll be like gold or rainbow colors, like when you pick them up out of the nest, and they're supposed to have stronger genes. So what you can do is you can basically pick a gene from a monster and transplant it to another monster and, like, make gene builds. And based on, there's like 9 of them. And it's like tic-tac-toe style. If you like match up colors and match up styles, you get bonuses and other stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I need rainbow eggs of all of them. So I would just spend hours and hours just, like, running around trying to get eggs. That's what I've been doing. I think I've put like 40 some hours in it, 50-ish, between 40 and 50 at some point. Probably longer because I got tired at one point. There was about a 2-hour stretch where I was trying to find just one specific egg, and it just was not, like, the RNG was not having fun with me. It's like, I can't do this anymore. So I just kind of I save scummed it, and I don't really care because I want my monsters. You go to a caravan, you fast travel to a caravan, and it generates the monster dens in that area, and every time you travel to it, it respawns them. So I would just keep traveling to the same one until I spied a rare monster den nearby, go into that den, and then every time you go into the den, it auto-generates what is in it, so it changes every single time. Go in there, dig up my egg. If I didn't want it, I'd close it and open it back up again, and then I would be at the caravan with that monster den right there, so I could just keep going to it. So I did that for the one that I just couldn't get. I was like, I can't fucking get this one. This is ridiculous. I got him. Nice. I think it was a Legiana. But I got my 2 boys. I got the rainbow egg Nergigante, and I got the rainbow egg Zinogre. Somehow I got Zinogre on my first try, which is weird. But I got my little dogs. They're not dogs, but they are dogs. They're little dogs. And you get to run around on them and ride them around. It's pretty great.
That's tight.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about that game. That's what I want to check out.
It has awful fucking slowdown, though. Oh, man. The frame rate drop is rough. It is better to be playing it handheld. It heats the hell out of your Switch. Docked, You're playing it on a TV, it's going to chug and chug and chug. So at some point,
Almost
you're
like
just
we
going to
need a
have to get
Switch
used
2.
to it. Yeah. Right. Apparently, the OLEDs give better like CPU performance. I don't have an OLED,
I've barely noticed the difference.
so it's supposed to give
'Cause we
better
were playing,
cooling too, because it starts to
Arceus
chug.
Legends.
It starts to chug when it gets hot.
Yeah. Well, Arceus, we were playing Arceus Legends. Sherry was playing it upstairs, and I'd be like, hey, give me my game back. Play it on the OLED downstairs, and I'm like, God, it's still chugging. So,
Yeah.
it's time.
So if you want to play this game, just be aware it does have some serious frame rate problems. It still plays, and I don't think I had it crash,
That's good.
if I remember. But I would sit and literally play that game all day, so my poor Switch was like on fire. I would have to stop playing it and be like, okay, I'm gonna go let my Switch cool off and like go
Damn.
wash my dishes or something.
My original Switch, it's warped from the heat. Like, it's literally got a bend to it.
Don't say that. I have the Pikachu one.
Yeah.
I need them to come out with a Switch too, so I can stop using my Pikachu Switch.
I mean, it still works. It just, you don't notice until you look directly on top of it and look down.
Well, now I'm gonna look down on it next
Yeah,
time I
it's
look
bowed.
at it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
mine's bowed.
So
Yours probably isn't, though.
This fucking face.
why?
I said yours probably isn't.
I've played my Switch more than you.
Maybe.
Maybe.
He's just being a jackass.
Trying to be supportive.
He's pulling it right
Your
against
limited
your
edition
code.
Switch is not, it's only the base model launch ones that are owned by me.
But anyways, that's what I've been playing. I don't really have plans to play anything else in here soon. There's a lot of things I want to play, but we'll see. It depends on when I get tired of collecting monsters, because I can only play one game at a time. That's just how I function.
I'm playing Witcher 3 all day tomorrow, like 100% penciled in.
I'm Fortnited out. All right, I can't play no more Fortnite.
I got more to do still.
Y'all get me on this Fortnite for like 6 hours. I'm like, man, I could be playing something else. This is fun. It's fun having fun with friends. But there was one time this week where I just started I just picked my Steam Deck up to play the game that I was trying to play on it. They were like, hey, we're on. I was like, fuck. Okay. I'll get on Fortnite.
Got dubs.
And it's not Call of Duty where I can die and just be like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to pick up my other game and play it like I did that one time. Not in Fortnite, because we don't die that often. We got 9 wins that one night. It was crazy. There's a website where you can look up. I'm not like a Fortnite like god by any means, but like when I play well, it's like a good feeling.
Yeah.
There's like some Fortnite tracker or whatever that Kyle was talking about. I was like, oh, let me see my stats or whatever. And it was like, your KDR for this season's 8.0. And I was like, how? I'll be lucky to get 2.
It's the red dots, man. Anytime they got optics on these weapons, I slay this season.
No, it's the riot shield, baby.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
That's all
that
I
thing's nasty.
needed.
It's been a really good season of Fortnite, though. It's been fun. I've put a lot of time into this season as well.
So give me that riot shield and get out.
Yeah, that thing's nasty.
Y'all got anything else? Right into this episode. Remakes, remasters, restakes.
Sometimes
That was
remakes
a
and
poor
remasters.
pun on mistakes. Really good or really poopy? I don't I think everyone has their opinion on remakes and remasters for obvious reasons. Now, the thing about remakes and remasters, if I remember, it to me it wasn't really a common thing for a long time. Until I feel like PlayStation 2 era, maybe. More so PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 like heavily was like ports, remaster, remakes of everything. Of a lot of PlayStation 2 and Xbox games, I feel like. But at first it was cool because, you know, when in my experience, and this might be similar to you guys with the 360 because they weren't really backwards compatible, right?
They had
360s
some.
were.
Yeah. they had
Okay.
some. It wasn't full, but they
Right.
had some.
So when the PlayStation 3 came out, there was only one model that could play PlayStation 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the PlayStation 2 was so popular that like damn near every else household had one because it also coupled as a DVD player, and at the time it was the cheapest DVD player that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happened with the PS3. It was at the time the cheapest Blu-ray player you could get on the market, like hands down. So the first models were the ones that come out, and they played all 3. And that production didn't last too long, so the second models could only play PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 3. PlayStation 2 was cut out. So at that point, I feel like is when the PlayStation 2 remaster started to come in, because it was more common to have one that didn't play all three.
Mm-hmm.
So it was exciting at first. It was like, oh, cool. Like, I remember like Dragon Ball, Budokai on there, and Ratchet and Clank is one of my favorites on there. And Jak and Daxter had one, and then it turned into like God of War, and it was like a lot of like Sony property games that they were remastering to put on there. And then from there, it just kind of like spiraled into oblivion. It was just like, name a game that's been made in that era that doesn't have a remaster anymore.
Yeah.
And so I feel like at the time it was kind of exciting because it was this new thing that really didn't. I mean, there's been re-release of PC games all the time, but not to this kind of like discretion, I suppose.
Those were almost ports too, like they ported to console or whatever, and that's kind of how it started out with, I remember PlayStation was uploading a lot of like digital games or whatever, and then it started turning to, oh, we can just, quote, remaster this by slapping new textures on it.
Right.
I remember they would do like bundles that had multiple games, like I remember there was Shadow of Colossus and Ico. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, hey, if that sells well, maybe we'll do a remaster like they did for PS4.
And see, and some of those were interesting to me because, like, Shadow of the Colossus, I feel like was a lot more of a popular game, and so pairing that with Ico, that had it wasn't a sequel, but it was kind of in the same vein, Lightly's. Mm-hmm. It was a cool like bundle. It was like, oh, cool bundle games now, like that's sick.
We ain't getting that today.
There were bundled games in the 2 and Xbox era, but not super common. And it was just one after the other. And like online services really changed the market with the introduction to the digital platform, which look where we are now.
Just to like touch on those games really quick. Those were, obviously Shadow of the Colossus was like immensely popular, but those weren't like big games out the gate that were like a ton of hype to them. They kind of like, holy shit, it's a masterpiece. And giving more people exposure to play those 2 all-time games, like, great idea.
Well, I remember,
no one was mad about it.
What was that triple pack with Journey?
Yeah, it had
Journey and 2 other games with it that were, like, critically acclaimed indie games for, like, art direction.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid had it. God of War had it.
Splinter Cell.
That was
cool because that was, unless you went back and dusted off your old console, it's the only way to play some of these games back then.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all, more than one game also. There was remember Ubisoft did another one too, and they're all PS3 exclusives.
And I feel like Sony really heavily pushed it over Microsoft.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, Microsoft had it, but
not to the extent like they got like a Fable 1 remaster.
Yeah, or something.
It was late in the life cycle. PlayStation was the first one to kind of really start pumping them.
So, Microsoft, it was very rare to have a remaster or a quote-unquote remake, I suppose. At this point, it was remasters. But
they were more interested in the backwards compatibility because they kept updating that list for the 360.
It wasn't common for there to be a remaster that came out on PlayStation or on Xbox that wasn't also on PlayStation. But PlayStation had so many of them that were only PlayStation.
Yeah, off the dome, I can only think of like Fable Anniversary and Halo Combat Evolve Anniversary. That's like the only ones I can think of off the dome.
That wasn't on Xbox 360.
Yeah, it was.
360, yeah.
Which one?
Before the
they did have one.
Yeah,
black cover, slip cover.
They did have a black cover on it.
That's really the one.
I don't remember the name of it though. Was
Anniversary.
Yeah, I think it was Halo Combat Evolve Anniversary. Yeah,
it's like Fable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, at the time when they were getting these PS2 games on PS3, no one was that mad about it. I don't think anyone was like, "Oh, this is dumb." Everyone was like, "Cool."
No, it was a new thing.
And it was exciting, and it was like getting more people of an audience. It's like if you happen to miss PS2 for some reason, it's like, hey, you can play it on this. Like all around, good vibes, good time.
Yeah, and then
they're all quality games, like hand-selected games. It wasn't just like dollar bin shit getting remastered and remade.
Well, and I'll just cut to the chase. In my opinion, there at this point, it's not. They're just using remasters and reports is the fact that they have no creative ability to make new games. Like, why are we? And it's hard for me to say, oh, why is Last of Us 2 already getting a remake? Like that game came out 4 years ago.
That's so crazy, dog.
Right?
Yeah. Closer to 3,
4 years ago. So at the time, like, from going from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 and having, like, the Ratchet and Clank trilogy, that's a couple, like, I don't know how many years worth of games all in one package, but we hadn't seen those in a couple years. Right. So, I mean, like, even, let's say there was a 4-year gap between, like, a game that came out on the PlayStation 2, which is ridiculous because that wouldn't have happened because the PlayStation 2 was alive for so long. But there's a 4-year gap, and it was exciting at the time because it was new. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, Brother is getting a remaster.
Even
that was announced, and I was like, why is that game getting a remaster? It doesn't look awful. It came out last generation. It's a good-looking game.
Man. That's the thing with these new consoles, like PS5 and Series X, they're all backwards compatible. Like, it's weird for some of these.
But my question is, why? That game didn't sell like hotcakes.
It reviewed pretty critically well, but yeah, again, it's a weird one.
I think also, kind of touching back on the PS2 point, like the jump from PS2 to PS3 was pretty significant.
Yeah.
I don't think the same jump from like PS4, Xbox One to Series X, PS5 is like, it's not, I mean, obviously they're higher performing,
We're
but
just hitting
it's
that
not,
stride now, though.
It's not as big of a jump as PS2 to PS3, 360 was, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it was worth going back and kind of putting a new coat of paint on it. Now it's like, okay, Last of Us 2 still holds up pretty damn well on PS4. Like,
there's a PS5.
Oh yeah, Last of Us 2.
Right.
Like, I played Last of Us 2 on a Pro before the 5 came out, and like I was like, this thing looks incredible. It plays incredible. Like, obviously, if you throw that in a PlayStation 5, it's gonna run even smoother. But like, I'm just looking at it like, what about this needs a remake?
Nowhere near like where it needs a remake. Like,
And things like that are exactly why they're just doing this to make money. Because there's no reason you guys need to make this game again when all of our consoles are completely backwards compatible, no question asked. You can go get these. I don't know. There's availability for digital on those.
Yep.
They're new still in places. They're used in many places. It's not like hot, like off the press. We haven't marketed them in a while. We haven't printed them in a while. You guys are just making it because the HBO show is hot, popular. The second game got a lot of controversy, praise, and hate.
Mm-hmm.
However way you want to take that. And it's just super popular. So they're like, okay, let's just remaster it or remake it. It's not even a remaster. It's a remake. It's a remake.
Yeah.
hilarious.
It's a remake. Let me just... What are you guys remaking? How can you make the models look any better?
Right.
If you're
It's
not
not
like...
they're updating the UI.
What are they going to do? Like build a game from the ground up?
It's the cheapest form of the word remake, in my opinion, for them to do that game. Because if you look at an example like Dead Space came out last year, right? They built it from the ground up. Yeah, it's the same game, but it's completely built from the ground up. New engine, new controls, new UI. That's a remake. I don't see how they can even get away with calling this a remake.
Like, how are you going to call Last of Us 2 remake? A remake in the same vein as something like the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Exactly. That's
Right.
a remake.
That's a remake.
Like, that is a completely different level. And, like, Final Fantasy VII has been something people have been asking for a very long time. And they weren't going to do it for a long time. The technology wasn't there. They finally were able to do it. A lot of people are saying it's because it's a cash cow and Square Enix wasn't doing too well. You know what? Okay, I guess that's a fair criticism. Like, they weren't. 15 was a flop. Like, but they had that game in development for a long time. 13 was a flop too. Square Enix has other means of revenue. I mean, like, Nier was super popular. I'm not going to keep going into it. But they had that in development for a long time. And that was, like, you can tell that was a passion project. That's not really, like, a money-making machine, in my opinion.
See, that's the thing. It's
It
like,
feels like a money-making machine when you look at Last of Us.
right. That's the difference. It's like, okay, we'll just approach it as like board of directors here for a moment. Final Fantasy VII is a money-making machine. However, like, they did it right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a full-on game that, as long as you wait to put out
They let
parts,
them take forever on that
it's
game.
a guaranteed hit.
Yep.
Just like a reason why this even started getting pushed out, like, like factory work, because most of these games are established properties that they know you're going to be able to like make a buck on. That's why like you get these shitty ports of like where they just up the resolution. They don't even like do new textures because it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed easy
Metal Gear
money.
Solid.
Yeah, everyone was excited as hell for it. We've been wanting Metal Gear Solid forever. Although they gave us a version of it, sucks, but like guaranteed hit. You don't have to. The profit
That's the
margins
same.
alone.
That's the same game as the PlayStation 3 one, correct?
No, it's a shittier version of
Technically,
it.
no,
It's
yeah.
worse?
It's the PAL Metal Gear Solid version, so it runs at
It's
a
the one that was
lower
on
frame rate.
the PS1 Mini. It's a
Yeah,
shittier
it's the
version.
Mini, yep.
Like
No.
that's why if you had that PS2 one, keep it. It's a better version. Like honestly,
Well, is Metal Gear Solid is the problem one?
Metal Gear Solid's the biggest problem.
Metal Gear
one,
Solid was a download code in that anyways.
Right.
It's not on disc.
unfortunately. But that's the thing that's why they're doing these, because games are so expensive. It takes so long to make now. You can put out a bunch of crap that you've already made and port it and make an easy buck.
Even then, it's like I can see the argument of them saying like, okay, well, games are expensive to make from the ground up. Let's just then why are we doing remakes? But whatever. So, if they want to start putting out, ports and remasters of old games to like, bring in that little bit of revenue while they're waiting on the big hit, that's fine. But continually the big hits
Right.
are just flopping because everyone doesn't want the big hits.
Yeah, it's new IPs failings, another contributing factor.
So now they're seeing that all these new IPs are failing and they're not investing into new IPs anymore, and they're just going to keep making the same shit every 4 years.
That's what's stupid. Okay.
We're not having any development.
The first ones we talked about in this episode, like, iCash, iCauses, like small games that needed a new coda, like it needed a new audience. But Rockstar, like putting the Grand Theft Auto games they put on every console generation, that's the same damn port, or like
worse.
Red Dead Redemption
Red
1.
Dead was just
What are y'all doing? Like,
unforgivable.
y'all have the money.
Yep.
You're literally a multi-billion-dollar company. We're not talking like a
publicly traded.
This is like quadruple A. Fuck triple A. Take-Two, the like biggest, most monetarily gained property, fuck video games of ever, Grand Theft Auto, and y'all couldn't put the out quality port of old ass games.
Grand Theft Auto is not the most, but it's pretty big.
And Pokemon, like
like Mario, Pokemon, and
Grand Theft Auto's probably
Grand
out
Theft
there.
Auto,
They
man.
made billions of dollars off GTA 5, and they're still making billions. Like, it's crazy you couldn't put out a PS2 game that you could port over to an extra that's not ass. Like, and they called that a remake. Yeah, a remaster or whatever the fuck. It wasn't shit. It was a downgrade.
That's another thing too. I think everybody, developers included, have a different definition of remaster versus remake, right? It's like, for example, The Last of Us. It's, to me, I don't see how it's a remake. It's probably the same code with the fresh coat of paint on it. To me, that's more of a remaster.
Right.
Where you look at something where, Final Fantasy, we use that example. That's a remake, built from the ground up.
Resident Evil 4.
Right, exactly.
Remake.
That's built from the ground up. That's a remake.
There's a lot of things where
remade.
You can't. It's the same idea as like you can't take a piece of artwork and add something to it and then call it its own thing. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. Like even if I feel like there's some things with like I don't know if it's not copyright law. I don't know exactly what it is. But there are things where you can take assets from other stuff, but you have to be able to add like 80% or some crazy high number for it to be considered different.
Right.
And there's so many times that I feel like they just keep doing this to remakes and like, oh, this is a remake. And I'm like, that's the same thing. It's the same thing. I'm like, what was it? Did they say, is it the new Metal Gear Solid where they say they're not redoing the voice lines?
Yeah, for the Delta, whatever it is.
Yeah, they're not doing the voice. They're just doing the original.
Remake.
But it's a remake.
Yeah.
But you're not doing new voices.
So their reasoning with that was because they want to be as truthful to the original as possible while modernizing it, basically.
Then make a remaster.
Right.
Like, you can't remake something from 20 years ago for modern times and then keep the same shit audio.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
They're going to have to get the voice actors
I'm
back
sure
in
it's
there.
not because they burnt any bridges with the voice actor or anything.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not like that at all.
They know for a fact that if they can't get the originals back, they're not going to sell as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, honestly, they're lucky that Metal Gear Solid sells even as it is now with that whole thing with Kojima. Like, people want to defend Kojima all day, that's fine. I'm not, like, a super big Kojima guy. But, like, he was hand in hand with Metal Gear Solid.
It's his baby, yeah.
I mean, Survive was a great example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all basically boycotted that game. It wasn't, like, a horrible game.
Nate and I played. I think we're the only two people on Earth that played it. And it wasn't Metal Gear, right? It was a survival game, and they slapped the Metal Gear title on it, hope that maybe 30,000 people will buy it. It's the easy out for these developers, man.
Yeah,
Sucks.
It's so common now to be like, okay, let's get. I mean, like I pulled a list up. There was an article on Game Informer recently that was the big list of upcoming video game remakes, and I was like, okay, what are they on here considering a remake? So the Persona 3, which that is a complete ground up.
100%.
The Brothers. I don't know why.
Remake.
It's a twin stick.
It's a remake, dude.
Did you ever play it, Barry?
Yeah, I played it.
Yeah, it's like a twin stick game. I don't see how you're gonna remake that from the ground up. It was
a fun little game that was a couple hours long, and I was like, oh, this is a nice little thing because it was on Game Pass, I think.
Yeah.
But like, why are we remaking this game?
It's a weird choice.
Not even
sure.
old.
It was announced at the Game Awards.
It's like 10 years old now, but still, yeah, it's not. Again, how's it going to be a remake?
It came out in
twin
2013.
stick game, basically. It's not a shooter, but it's twin sticks. Like you ain't gonna build that from the ground up. It's gonna have new assets and shit, sure, but you ain't changing the DNA.
It just says this remake handled by developer Advent Garden instead of the game's original designer Starbreeze is rebuilt from the ground up and now includes the option to play in local 2-player co-op. So you're saying that like you basically acquired the assets to this game, and you couldn't figure out a way to implement local co-op, so you had to rebuild the whole game.
I mean, it looks a million times better, but yeah, it's
an Unreal Engine 5. Everything looks better.
Exactly. My piece of dog shit looks amazing on Unreal 5.
But I'm just like, that is something that I'm just like, where I don't see the money in it. I mean, if you guys are remaking it for the money, which is why everyone's remaking it, I don't see it.
That's the one. That's the thing. It's like there's no one clamoring for that game. I know it has like a little cult following and stuff, but like the way that's going to cost to remake the whole damn thing, that's one that's like you should probably just remaster that instead of like like that's so interesting of a choice. Okay, move on.
It's
Sorry.
like I can see one of two reasons of like why you would want to remake a game. Either it's super popular and you think you can make money off of it, or that's really about it. I don't know. Like maybe it's a passion project and you're like, oh man, like a lot of people really love this game and it's not really well known, but like we're gonna try it.
Or like quality of life. I mean, I think there's a right way to do it. Like if you look at Metroid Prime, the most recent way to play that was on the Wii, but now they have it for the Switch where it's like it's a remaster.
Even then, I feel like Metroid Prime gave the green light because they knew it would make them enough money to compensate. That's where I'm just like, where is the
test the waters like Nintendo does, but it's like
that's their strategy now, though.
It's like on one hand, like I don't see the popular hidden cult following love of Brothers.
No, it's not there.
And then I don't see the people clamoring for a remake to throw all their money at Brothers. So like, where you are an anomaly.
$70 on fucking Brothers. I sure as hell ain't. Like, sorry. Sorry if you love that game. I'm not spending $70 on it.
It'll be on Game Pass anyway, probably.
It's just
That's why it's Microsoft's got that fuck you money. They're like, we don't give a fuck. Play Brothers, bitch.
I mean, I guess.
No, it is interesting. I think there's a right way to do it.
They fumbled the bag too.
Yeah.
That's one where I'm just like, honestly, at this point, like you would think 10 years is a long time, but 10 years is not a long time for games at this point. And there's some that like still look really good for being made that long ago.
Yeah, no doubt.
And the argument for backwards,
the jump's not that big.
Yeah, the argue for now, it's almost more of a slap of face on these consoles because they're backwards compatible.
You can throw in
any 10-year-old game you can throw in.
Pretty damn good on your PS5.
It's gonna work. That's the thing. It's gonna run because it's fully backwards comp.
Well, I did have some problems with Dragon Age Origins, but
really,
yeah. Well, it was 2. Dragon Age
Inquisition,
2.
I thought.
No, oh yeah, you're right. Inquisition. I don't even know anymore because I played it for 2 hours because that's all the time I had to play for it. It's got some bad frame rate. So it could just be an outlier, but
yeah,
they're supposed to.
It's a harder pill to swallow, for sure, in my opinion. If you say, hey, we're going to remake this game from 10 years ago, but if you still have your copy, it's going to work just fine.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go on to a couple others to get some more opinions. Final Fantasy VII, we don't have to sit on too long.
Obviously.
Yeah. I think that's a good example of how to do it.
I think that is the example.
It's hard to argue.
I think there's the example. I mean, like, Resident Evil supposedly was super good. I'm not a Resident Evil fan, so I'm not going to speak too much on it, but people really liked it.
Resident Evil 2, absolutely.
They said it was a really good
because you got to think there was outdated mechanics and stuff that they modernized. They put an over-the-shoulder camera, free movement. It was a remake from the ground up that kept the heart and the soul of the original game. That's how you do it, man. That's another great example.
That one is an example of, like, a much smaller gap.
Yeah.
Right.
Final Fantasy VII's gap from the one to the other is just astronomical.
More than Resident Evil 2 is a pretty big gap, but
like
I still think
graphically,
I think Resident Evil 2 aged better than Final Fantasy 7.
Yes,
think about it,
absolutely.
I'll be honest with that.
They already remade the original Resident Evil for the GameCube,
right? So they already
how much of the story did they change?
Hardly anything.
This is the story. The story's changing this one too.
It's a reimagining.
I think Final Fantasy is the best example. It's a true remake.
It is like, if we want to talk about the remakes of remakes, like you have to set the standard. That's the standard for me considering like a full 100% full-blown remake. And I'm not saying this because like I love this game, but like looking at it like unbiasedly, it's got completely new graphics, completely new models.
Gameplay.
All the score is completely redone. The gameplay is completely different, but still stays true. The story is going to be different, and it already is different. All of the voices, completely new voices than who they had before. Like, they've recasted everybody. I don't know how much more you can do.
Yeah, it's literally from, when they say it's from the ground up, that one's literally from the ground up. Like, that's how you put your money where your mouth is. That's a D prime example.
It's kind of what, it's interesting, because they took one game and made it 3, basically, where Capcom's approach to Resident Evil, it's like they're just going individually, like, kind of remaking, hand-selected some of them, because they did 2, they did a really cheap cash grab of 3, and 4 is like a really good one, but it's an interesting approach. Like they're going back and making multiple games. Square's like, fuck it, we'll make one game 3 times and make it.
I mean, to be fair, 7 was on 3 discs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a common thing, but I also feel like to have the impact that they wanted with this game, they could not do it in 1.
Hell no. I don't think so.
They couldn't. Because there's so many things
they're
that
saying
you
this
can
one's going to be multiple Blu-rays, right?
You can go, yeah, it's supposed to be 2. You can go super quickly on a lot of these things in the original game. that if they did it in this style of narrative and storytelling, like it's not just sitting there clicking through dialogue.
No.
Like it is full blown, models, animations, like everything, voices. Like it takes a lot more time to like act out these scenes that we can read in 3 seconds.
I just think it's honestly that's the one to me where it's like, so I don't have a huge attachment to Final Fantasy VII, but I'm so excited for this new one. Like, because at first it was so great, it was a great experience.
I'll say this too. Both examples, Capcom with Resident Evil, Square with Final Fantasy. Yeah, they're doing remakes, but they're also doing new entries in the series as well.
Right.
I don't know if that goes to like funding purposes or what, but a lot of these developers now, they'll just remake a game from, not even that long ago and just that's what they just keep porting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like kudos to both of them.
The reason why I want to go back and play old Final Fantasies and old Resident Evils is because it's still around, it's still relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, I wish I could play this without having to hook up the PS1. Like, surprise, bitch, here's Resident Evil. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. They're going about it the right way.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's see. I see Gothic.
Really?
I didn't know there was going to be a remake.
They put the old one out.
It says 2024.
I think there's like a PS4 Switch of the original one, I believe. But that's exciting because that's a game that like totally needs.
It says it's a rework.
See, that's great because the old one's a great game, but it's freaking mechanically just aged so poorly. Like,
hold on, I'm double checking Steam. Gothic 1 remake coming soon. There has not been a release date as of now, I believe.
Gothic Classic is out. They put the original one out.
Yeah,
So it's a remaster.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that's exciting.
So this one's supposed to be a remake.
Nice.
The front mission series remake.
Didn't they do the first one already?
They did the first and the second, and they're doing the third.
Okay.
Mechs are hot right now.
And I don't think they're remakes.
They don't seem like it, do they?
No. I think they're glow ups.
They're remasters.
Yeah.
I think they're glow up remasters, but like I don't know about remakes.
Because they're not like changing anything or
It's got improved
plays the
visuals and
same.
controls.
It's a remaster,
I
dog.
don't know.
Bro.
Like, and I always keep going back to like that conversation of like Final Fantasy not only did the same thing, but they added improvements.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's hard to add improvements to a game that's already good. And even in this new one in Rebirth, they've added more combat improvements. For a game that was supposed to be one game and now it's 3 and now it's improving upon itself, it's just like, if you're going to remake something, you have to make it just as good and better.
Make it worth remaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean,
concept.
Front Mission sells well. That's like I said, mechs are hot right now.
There's a way bigger audience for that series than there was when it was initially coming out.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
That's the thing with some of these companies. It's like, okay, like let's even go back to PS1 before pre-Final Fantasy VII. Like the market for RPGs was super like not what it is today. So some of these older games, like it would make sense to put even that version out just like on a new console. But we're so far past even like putting thought and care into this process of putting games out. We just put out everything we can. Like if they still have the source code for shit, I swear to God, they're just going to release it.
I mean,
Well,
they did.
Silent Hill 2.
I'm worried about that one.
Me too. I think it could be good for the series, but
Like that's the series that needs it. That series needs,
yeah.
like,
I think, no, the series needs a new game.
yeah,
It needs a new game. It needs a new fresh game.
they had
Just
one
like
that they
Resident Evil
canceled, right?
did.
Yeah, they had PT, but they fucking canceled it. Yeah.
it needs something because people have been clamoring for Silent Hill for a long time, and it's got the market where people would buy it and would be a successful game. Like,
I mean, like, honestly, Resident Evil's like not my game, but I'll give credit where credit's due. And like having a remake, sure, was popular and successful, but like Resident Evil 7, the Biohazard one,
yeah,
that one, and that was a whole new game.
yeah,
Even though it wasn't like super long, that one being introduced and then like having the VR capabilities
Mhm.
and then having like the really good cast on it, like that introduced a lot of people who had never played Resident Evil because
Yeah.
like Resident Evil got drifted away from being too actiony. It was less horror.
Yep.
Now we're back in horror. Horror's hot right now. That brought a lot of people into the Resident Evil, and I feel like that was just the jump start.
Personal
for the
experience.
series.
Yeah, it brought me back because I was when they first showed it, I was like, oh my god, like it's gone. Resident Evil's gone. This is first person. What is this shit? I was so skeptic, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll get it because I love this series or whatever. And then literally playing it, and Sherry's like, "What is this?" and sat down and watched the whole thing, and she's like, "You can't play this without me." And
That's
like,
what
we
I'm
both
saying.
loved it.
That wasn't like Resident Evil for Resident Evil fans. It was like a really good Resident Evil games that I feel like both sides of the spectrum would have liked. Like new people who'd never played the series before, and old people who were kind of like falling off. It brought them back.
The sales data shows
So
that.
because of that rejuvenation in the series, like the remake was even more successful.
Sold like 10 million fucking copies. Or
Right.
something
So like
crazy.
that's what Silent Hill needs. Like horror games are hot, and it doesn't matter that it needs to be a remake for Silent Hill right now. It just needs to be a really good horror Silent Hill game, and you'll get anybody to play that.
On paper, isn't that hard? I don't know why they can't just pull one out of their ass, but whatever.
No.
Oh, it's Konami, silly me. Yeah.
Oh, are they gonna have Jordan Peele do it? I'm moving on to the next one. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, not happening.
Yeah.
I've already accepted that. It's fine.
Same, unfortunately.
Painful.
It's sad. I hope they come out with that. I feel like there was another company that was supposed to be making a Star Wars game set in the High Republic.
Yeah. But to see like the Star Wars games licensing has been like super weird. I feel like they work on games and cancel them left and right now. Because there was like the Ubisoft one that they canceled. Like then there.
Well, I think that was Ubisoft because Ubisoft.
They're working on another one, but then there was like allegedly there's an id Star Wars game. Like it's Star Wars games have like been really weirdly licensed the last couple of years.
Well,
been doing
who?
that, though.
Someone
Marvel's
had the show
doing it
called
soon.
on it. Who had it?
Yeah, EA.
EA did. So
That's
EA's,
what I was thinking of. Sorry.
That's what it was. They had an exclusive contract for a long time, and then when it opened up, LucasArts, it's like, you get a Star Wars, and you get a Star Wars, and you get a Star Wars, and anybody who wants to make Star Wars games, that's fine. We're going to make money off of it. We don't care.
That's what Disney's been doing, though, with Marvel
So,
also.
I
They're
don't
letting
think-
other publishers try their hand at it and be like, hey,
I don't think
beat
Disney's
Insomniac.
tanking it. I think it's the publisher
Yeah,
and the developers who are tanking. They're just like, whatever. Disney's like, do whatever.
get us money, bro. We
As
don't
long
give
as
a
it
fuck.
lines up with what, Star Wars is about, we're going to send our lore master over after you. But, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Make a puzzle game.
Talk about fuck you money.
But it's just sad that, like, Knights of the Old Republic isn't happening. And, like,
It's one that needs one, quite frankly.
Yeah, no kidding. That would the perfect example of a game that would do it great with remakes. They did put like I want to say they put like did they put a Switch version out of like the original one?
Limited
and shit?
run did.
Yeah,
Yep, and
it's
it
digital, and it was problematic.
broken.
So like if that's your first experience with that game, you're like, damn, like that's really doing that series a disservice. Like a remake would do an awesome thing for that series.
Well, from what I understand, like, Disney doesn't really have anything to do with it, but I think Lucasfilms or LucasArts or whoever is that studio has a lot more say in, like, allowing them to do things.
yeah,
And I remember seeing something about they had a demo and they did not like the demo. So I'm assuming that they changed a lot of things from the original Old Republic that like Lucas was not happy with. Because obviously like there's a high standard for that game.
Oh, yeah.
no doubt.
Like of Star Wars games, like that is the one that like is the Star Wars game.
We can't ask Bioware to do it anymore.
So
God.
I don't know how that would have gone.
I do. Poorly.
Remember Anthem?
So my
Dragon
best
Age.
guess, my best guess is in their quest for a remake, they changed some stuff that they were not supposed to change.
They actually remade it, huh?
Well, and that's the hard part is like when you are given a license to a series that is not yours, there's only so much you can do in a remaster.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Ubisoft is doing the best option in this is getting the availability to make Star Wars games, not altering it but making it something outside.
Yeah.
Where it's like, don't come in here and say we'll make a remake of an old game because you're gonna mess it up. It's not yours, buddy.
Make an original.
You can make an original story outside of that.
And it's Star Wars. People are going to fucking buy it. Like, come on.
Which one did Ubisoft do? I'm sorry.
They're doing
the
Outlaws.
Okay, Outlaws. Yeah. Respawn did Jedi Outcast or whatever. Yeah, whatever it's called.
Yep. Survivor. Yeah.
I get my Star Wars games confused. There's a lot of them.
So and that's why Survivor was, I feel like, a success because it was new, it was fresh. The first one was bare bones, but like, we all see what was there.
Yeah.
I haven't played the second one, but it was still Star Wars, but it was new. It wasn't the same C-3PO, R2-D2, blah 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 shit. Everyone, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Take a hint, Disney Plus.
No kidding.
God. Okay, moving on. Splinter Cell. Not a lot said out that.
God,
Talk
needs
about a
it.
game that needs one more than anything.
Wait, a remake or like a new game?
Says a remake.
They're talking ground up, but the creative director left the project, and you haven't heard anything about it. It was announced like 4 years ago, wasn't it?
It says Ubisoft. It's Ubisoft. Ubisoft Toronto plans to rebuild the game from scratch using Snowdrop Engine while maintaining classic stealth elements. Honestly, if we could get a really good stealth game,
Yeah.
we need a good stealth game.
Yeah,
We need a good
I'm
one.
I'm tired of games being on a stealth game that they just turn into a run and gun.
The last Splinter Cell.
Third Splinter Cell was like the last good stealth game, dude. That was forever ago.
Like, there's consequences to you not being stealthy, and it's you just failing your mission.
Dude.
Like, I'm tired of being the Assassin's Creed that's gonna stealth kill people, and the one time you mess up, you can just run away from the guards and it'd be fine. Stupid.
You should check out Golem.
I mean, there is a huge gap for like, because Thief, like that reboot never really took off, and that was like the other big stealth franchise I can think of. Metal Gear's an action game. Let's be real. They call that shit stealth, but it's an action game. Like,
But of remakes that could benefit, I think Splinter Cell, because it could inject new life into the series. It could, it's Ubisoft, so they're going to put money into it.
there's a need. People want Splinter Cell. That'd be a great
people have
game.
been clamoring for
It's like,
Splinter Cell.
graphically, the first one holds up surprisingly well, but there's like mechanically some shit where you can tell you're playing a PS2 Xbox game. So that's one I would definitely like put it pretty high on the list of like, Ubisoft's all about their franchises anyways. Like, that's a game that could turn into a franchise. You know what I mean? It has already successfully.
I agree.
Feels like a safe bet. Let's get it made. Come on.
No, we're working on Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Yep.
Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, not getting it. I'm calling it now. Not happening.
Well,
I
this
hope it
one comes out in
does.
like 2 weeks, right? This new one.
Yeah, it's not this one, though. Sands of
Right.
Time.
Sands of Time, sorry.
So they're remaking Sands of Time, not remastering. They're
We were
remaking.
supposed to have this game in 2021.
Yeah.
Oh no! Is that
So,
what this turned into? New game?
This is sorry.
it was delayed twice, then delayed indefinitely. It says Ubisoft moved it from the Indian studio to Montreal, where Sands of Time was first created.
Yep.
Supposedly Montreal's doing it. I think this new Sands of Time, I think this new Prince of Persia game is going to flop.
It's a bad time of year for it to come out.
And that's going to be their sign if people aren't interested. We're going to cut it.
Right back to where we were.
I don't think they're going to do it. You're hearing it here first.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Now, as far as like ones they need to do, like, see, like this is a
They've already
frustrating
tried so many
Look,
times
man,
with
you
Prince
can't
of Persia,
make
dude.
Prince of Persia by Ubisoft. They're going to make it just look like Assassin's Creed Origins.
I mean, Assassin's Creed came out as Prince of Persia,
It
so
was a canceled Prince or failed Prince.
That's
of
what I mean.
Persia.
Like, this first full
Right.
circle, like you said, like people are just going to be like, okay, you just came out with an Assassin's Creed game and this is the same thing.
this is the ones where it's like put the original PS2, Xbox ones out in a turbo pack, like remaster. People would go crazy for that.
Maybe they'll just put tall Smurfs in it, and we'll be saved,
What?
like they did for Far Cry.
I've
Turn it
seen
into a
talking
fucking
about?
Avatar game. They can just turn Prince of Persia into Avatar. We'll be fine. Fuck you, you'll buy it.
Is that what you're
Ubisoft's
saying?
buying it. Yes.
Moving on. Dragon Quest 3
Oh,
HD 2D remake, which is badass.
Yeah.
I think the HD 2D things are awesome.
yes.
I think that they are gorgeous. You're taking a 2D game, giving it a 3D spin, makes it a little bit easier to digest what's going on. I loved the Zelda one.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit more 3D than 2D, but it still had those 2D elements on the Switch. I loved that.
And it still felt like the classic game.
Yeah.
They age really gracefully.
Mhm.
Like, that's the thing.
So Dragon Quest 3, I think this is a super smart choice because
100%.
Dragon Quest 3 is unanimously the most loved and popular one in Japan. And I don't think Americans understand why, because we got our westernized Dungeons and Dragons version. So we didn't, Westerners didn't like Dragon Quest until 8. 7 on the PS1 flopped. We didn't get 5 and 6 until the DS, which 5 is a really good one. And then 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all on the Nintendo. We didn't have anything after that. It was Nintendo and then straight to the PS2.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just they weren't really good examples of like they were super westernized games. I mean, I'm not saying the games were bad, but they're Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't age well. It's really hard for people to play Nintendo games these days. So they're remastering or they're porting, I think 1, 2, and 4, and then they were completely remaking 3.
Interesting.
I kind of like when they put the original version out, like a straight port, and then they do like a remake. Gives you kind of like a palette. Like, you play the original, then you can start playing the remake. I think that's a pretty good idea when they do that.
I kind of like when they, for the remasters, when they do both. Like the way that Halo Anniversary did it, where you can push the back button and it shows the original
Yeah,
and
that's
then you can play the
super
updated.
sweet.
That's always fun, man.
Let me
Harder to do, obviously, on 2D to 3D, but
Yeah, if you're doing a straight remake, it's kind of difficult. But as
yeah,
far
that was
as
incredible in the
remasters-
Halo when you could push the button and it would just change the graphics back to the original.
or like Spyro did it too. That was really nice in Spyro.
Okay, so it's the Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 collection, not 1, 2, and 4.
Mm.
So it is pretty much just a port. Those are just ports.
That's cool. I like when they do that though, so you can kind of compare and contrast if you've never played it before. As long as
but
it's priced correctly.
yeah, they're doing a full 2D, 3D make of 3.
So that's a perfect game that people would be like unanimously happy for. I don't think anyone's gonna be mad about that.
It's basically like Live Alive, and Live Alive like needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good example of one that really needed it because Live Alive was a really popular game in Japan. We never got in the West until this remake.
Yeah.
So I like it when they do those kinds of things, and it just completely added new spin, new flavor, new breath of fresh air into it. And now you have everybody over here being like, Live Alive, who've never heard of it before.
Yeah, and look at like what we talked about though, like the gap of time between that and that is significant. And there's a way bigger audience for that game. Like it's gonna take off now. It's not.
Mhm.
It's perfect example of a game that you pick and do it on.
Okay, Max Payne 1 and 2.
Hands down, the most excited for. Like, again, it's one that they haven't brought up. We got Max Payne 3, right? But that's the last time we got a game in the series.
Says it's going to be made by Remedy, and it's combining both into one game.
Yep, perfect. I mean, it's what we want.
That's a game where
with Rockstar Publishing.
Nice.
Yep. So it's still the Max Payne games. They play really well still, but they don't look great. They didn't age super gracefully as far as the looks department. So it's a good example too. People want a Max Payne game, but you can't really continue the story with Max Payne. So it's a good idea, I think. And Rockstar and Remedy have the money for it.
Mm-hmm.
So why not?
I'm all for it. I think it's one that could benefit from a remake.
100%.
Big one for me, the first Witcher.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a huge one.
Which I remember going to Gen Con the year. I don't think it wasn't the year it came out, but I remember going to Gen Con and they had a Witcher booth set up, and everyone's walking around being like, "What is it? If you've never seen this before?" But it was badass. It had all this cool stuff on it, and they were like promoting like Witcher coming out. So it was either coming out that year or the year after. I can't remember. But Witcher 1 being a PC, like basically a PC point and click, it's really hard to go back and play.
It did not age well.
It didn't age well, and they've already kind of said that they don't want to move forward with Geralt's story after 3. So we don't know what's going on with 4, but it does make sense to go back and like if you still want to cash cow Witcher, there's things to cash cow Witcher because there's a lot can go wrong. I think everyone has an idea of what they expect Witcher to be about, and that's, it's hard to imagine a Witcher without Geralt.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. And I'm wondering if they're taking their time with 4 to make sure they do it right, that like people enjoy what it is outside of Geralt's story. But in the meantime, it's cool to have Witcher 1 remade to see where we came from. Because like the story, the Striga story, and that's really good. It's a really good story, and it would be nice to play that game and just like not shudder every time I have to do anything. Because it's rough.
Yeah, it's one
even
that,
2. Honestly, they could remake 2
I
and
want to be
like
opposed to 2 either. 'Cause it could use definitely like clean up.
Use some quality of life improvements, if anything.
Yeah, 1, but by far 1 for sure.
Once like that,
Absolutely.
It plays completely different. Damn near like a different genre game. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing though. It's like that's a perfect game to pick and do. That series is on fire. It's big as it's ever been. Like it's nowhere near in Witcher 1 to Witcher 3. That gap is humongous.
I'm curious though because CD Projekt Red's not doing the development, and I'm wondering if they're using this as a tester to trust people with development.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know what the developer's done before. Who was it? Fool's Theory. I don't know what they've
Who?
done. Fool's Theory
Make
with
Google this.
supervision of CD Projekt Red veterans.
Trusted them with Witcher.
Yeah, and I know there was a
I gotta
bid
imagine
for
they're
it.
supervising it.
I don't think they've done a lot.
Done 2 games.
Great. What is it?
7, The Days Long Gone.
Okay,
Never heard of it. And whatever that is.
that's not out yet.
You're
They've
right.
done 1 game.
Yep.
Okay. Like,
Okay, we'll see. I mean,
We'll
maybe they're
see.
Oh,
really
it's a
good.
Polish studio. So
Maybe
that's
they're
probably why.
really good. Maybe they're like, hey man, you guys pull this off, we'll buy you. I don't know.
Maybe it was vets from other studios that formed a studio. Like who knows?
That's true.
But,
So
like, it's interesting when
Look at this. Hang on. It's new studio formed by former Witcher 3 devs.
Okay, so what they need to do with this one is completely redo everything, make it similar to The Witcher 3 in combat, but better, and then re-record all of the lines.
Yeah. And
Please,
everyone
because
be
the
happy.
voice acting is so bad in the first one.
Drastically different than 3. Yeah.
So, and the next one on my list is Metal Gear Solid, so, like, I'm not going to have... Metal Gear could absolutely use a remake.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, those are the stealth games that I want that we just don't have anymore at all. So, this one's doing Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah, which, like...
I personally would prefer the first one.
I think they're doing this, though, because of the chronological order. Like, this is the first one in the series. But I agree. Metal Gear Solid 1 is in need of a remake more than...
Metal Gear Solid 1 is the most popular one. I think it had interesting bosses. It had super interesting mechanics that I think would be really cool to have, like, modernized. How are you going to do that now?
I agree.
I think,
and then, like, graphically, it looks much worse than
that's
3.
One point I cannot argue is, like, the jump between 1 and 3 is significant. 3 is the best game of the series, though. I think universally praising, like, they don't have a way to... There's been so long of a gap between the Metal Gear Solid 5 even, because it wasn't really done when it came out. So they're like, I don't know if Konami wants to use like a launching point.
Now, let me ask you this question. Someone who's never played Metal Gear before,
Yeah.
would you tell them to play 3 first?
I could make the argument for it.
But which one? If they were like, which one do I need to play first, Nate? You have all of them at your disposal. Which
I guess
one
I
would
go
you tell
1
them to
because it's going
start
to be the
with?
roughest one to get through.
No, for story reasons. For you to fully understand the story and like
3.
really get
you
into
start
it.
with 3, yeah.
3
You
or
start with
Peace
3?
Walker or whatever, 3,
It's
yeah.
chronologically first, yeah.
Yeah.
But are you going to understand what's going on in 3 without the reference of other ones? Because
Yeah.
I've been told this before.
You get more from it from
about
playing Solid,
Yakuza.
though. Yeah.
I've been told the same thing about Yakuza. Or they were like, don't play 1 first. You need to play 0. And then I heard the people say, don't play 0 because you're not going to get the references in 0 if you don't play 1 first.
There is validity to that.
So
I guess let's put them in order.
that's the only reason why I'm like, why are we doing 3 first? Because I've never played them. I don't know. I've only played Metal Gear Solid.
I was talking with somebody about games that came out and like and I was like, just play them out the order that they came out. And we were talking about Legacy of Kain. Speaking of games that need remasters, but like technically they're not in chronological order, but like play them in the order they came out. That's my go-to rule. Like just play in what. So I guess 1. Metal Gear Solid 1, if we're just going to recommend it. Because to me, it's going to be the hardest one to get through. So it controls the worst, it looks the worst.
Obviously, the only exception to that is if they don't have anything to do with each other. But like, it's hard for me to think about a game series where I was like, let me start in the middle.
Yeah.
Right.
Why would I do that?
Especially story-driven, narrative-driven. You don't want to do that.
No, it's just play them where they came out.
Like imagine you being like, I want to get into Kingdom Hearts.
Start at
And then
3.
you play Dream Drop Distance on the DS first.
Yeah.
Like what?
So mechanically, like, that's what you got to play in order of what they came out, in my opinion. That way you kind of get appreciation of like the ebbs and flow of the series in general.
I am just, like I said, as a non-Metal Gear Solid person, I'm confused on why they're picking 3.
I get why they are, but I'm now that I'm kind of sitting here out loud thinking about it, 1 makes more sense to me.
Well, technically they've already remade 1 once. We got Twin Snakes.
Technically,
and
this is
dog
a
shit.
Metal Gear Solid
Right.
remake, so they
Yeah.
might even change the story. Who knows?
Yep.
They might completely change like the series of events to introduce you to like what's going on. They might
new
take
dialogue for
things
that.
out. That's a good point, Nate. Actually, I didn't think about that one.
It is interesting. And I really want to touch on quick, Barry bringing up Yakuza. That's another, in my opinion, great example of a remake. The way they did Kwame and Kwame 2. 1 and 2 were so outdated by the time 4 was even out. They needed something.
No doubt. And I think it's kind of point I've been bringing up. It's like the audience was way bigger for those games by the time.
Right. It was such a niche game, and then they did the remakes, and then let them go back and do 0 after Kwame 1 and 2. And they all play similar enough now.
And sometimes you get series like that where it's like it's way more popular after the fact, or the dust has settled on it, and you can kind of get a second life going. Like, look at how big Yakuza is now.
Yeah.
Well, I will bounce off of that because we don't have a lot of time left. But Yakuza being remade tanked the price of it on PS2.
Yep.
Absolutely demolished that price.
Yeah, you can still buy sealed
Destroyed
ones
it.
on Amazon for like $40.
Destroyed it. I remember looking because it
Used to
was
be a
in my
$100
list.
game.
Yeah, it was expensive, and I was like, "Well, I'm not buying that no more." So
That's a whole other can of worms here, where it's like, okay, I remember people talking about like the Metal Gear, like, oh, it's gonna find a way, because they're starting to like, especially this first Solid's like not a super cheap game for how common it is. It's
like $40 for Metal Gear Solid. I'm like,
everyone
that
their
thing
moms
was,
have had, right?
Yes.
So it's like, oh, this remaster is going to kind of make it affordable again. It's like, well, no, this fucking port kind of sucked. So people would rather play the PS1 one still. Like,
Yep.
so went up a little bit, honestly.
I think part of Metal Gear Solid though is the experience of playing it on that console, because like I
100.
played it on the Legacy, like the Legacy edition with the digital download, and I thought that version of the game ran really well. I played it on PS3, but I didn't get that opportunity to experience the fight with
Psycho Mantis.
Yeah, Psycho Mantis, like how it was originally intended with the hardware.
Yeah, where he literally calls you and is like, flip the back of the jewel case over.
Yeah. And that's why that is like, to me, that's a game that I want to see remade for modern times to deal with those problems, because nobody can experience that anymore on new hardware on digital releases. You have to go to the stupid little menu and then just sit on your couch and select on your controller, assign to controller slot 2.
Yep.
And then you get to do the little thing. So that's like something mechanically that I think is super impressive for that time, and I want to see it done in a modern way and what they could do with it, because they could probably do some creepy stuff with it.
Oh, no doubt.
So
just as like, you know, he used to read your memory card.
Mm-hmm.
Like now you can read your cloud saves.
Like you still have a Kinect plugged in, don't you?
You're only at 86% achievement score on this. Unworthy.
It's good. Yeah.
I see you've spent 300 hours in Fortnite this year. You know life.
You have how many skins? No, but that's a good point. Like some of these games, it's like, yeah, there's remakes, remasters, but a lot of times, more than it has any business being, like the original version's kind of better.
And it's more common now to hear that, where they say,
sad.
hey, we're doing a remaster of Red Dead. Hey, we're doing a remaster of Metal Gear. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, we're doing a Grand Theft Auto. And then everyone's like, I still want to play the original one. This is bad.
I feel like it's very rare where it's like, unless it's a full-on remake where it's like, that was a resounding success, great job of like bringing that to a modern console. Because like, even the Mass Effect, like everyone was super excited for that. Then it's like, oh, we're towing down Miranda's ass,
bro. Oh, come on, man.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like now that's got a stigma. It's like you change something that was completely unnecessary to change for no reason, really. Like it just made people mad. It's all you did. You didn't fix what you're trying to fix at all here.
Nope.
Like you changed the essence of a character. That's like characters very much dependent on that.
And like I'll give some credit where credit is due. Obviously, it was with what was the Capcom game that was remastered recently, and they had to put in a disclaimer? Was it Mega Man? It wasn't Mega Man. There was some racist stuff in it. It was a Capcom game.
I kind of know what you're talking about. I don't remember though.
I talked about it to you guys in a Taco Bell drive-thru.
Yep, I kind of remember having this conversation. Whereas like some of this content might be dated, blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't remember what it was though.
Okay, it was Mega Man. The Mega Man Battle Network.
Battle Network. Yep.
Had a disclaimer in the beginning where they were like, just a disclaimer. Some of the things in this game that are dated and not acceptable by today's standards, they are still in the game because it's true to what the game was. And they put that disclaimer in there.
Morbid curiosity, what was it?
I can't exactly remember, but I think it was just a depiction of a black person.
Oh.
Or I think that's what it was. I could be just go look it up if you really want to know.
Kind of type of thing, kind of like with
No, I think it was the behavior of them being like thieves or something like that. Like all black people are criminals, that kind of thing.
Jesus.
A Japanese studio, no way.
Yeah, so they put some things in there that were like, hey, we recognize that this isn't right, and that's not something that we want to include in our games going forward, but we're not going to erase it from our past, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they put a disclaimer in there. I forgot where I was going with this.
We were talking about Miranda's ass.
Okay, thank you. So with Capcom, at least they put that in there where they're like, hey, we know we did wrong here. Just letting you know we did wrong, but we're keeping it in because that's what it was. BioWare straight up said, no, we're going to change it because we realized we probably shouldn't have sexualized a woman so aggressively back in the day, but I'm just like, you built that into her writing.
Yeah.
There was no reason for you to change it, which is why I was upset about it. I mean, we can joke all day about how like there's no reason to turn down Miranda's booty or whatever, but like that being such an important part of her written character and her character growth, there was no reason to do that. They were like, oh, you have some distasteful camera shots of a cutscene of her butt, and I'm like, yeah, because you were trying to drive a point at the time of like how she presents herself and how people are supposed to view her. And gradually as the game goes on, there's less ass shots. I wonder why. It's almost like a group of people who didn't make the game got a hold of the game to remaster it and didn't know the intentions of it.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever. I'm a Miranda defender to my death. I will die on that hill of booty. So
Big Sir makes a lot over there.
but she's more of a character than her butt. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
and they just completely destroyed that fact by taking that out.
The other thing with some of these remasters remakes, would start changing stuff. It's like, oh, where do you draw the line? You know, it's an interesting point because especially a lot of Japanese games, like there's stuff that's just not. I know Persona is a good example. First one, they changed that character model because it's like that ain't gonna fly over here. So it's an interesting line. Or you gotta like really, I guess, make the decision yourself. And I think a lot of these games, like the original version, is gonna stay expensive or not go down. Really, honestly,
I remember a big one. A big one was if they were gonna include cross-dressing Cloud in Final Fantasy, and people were like, "Oh no, you can't do that anymore." Like blah blah blah, and they doubled down. They were like, "No, we're gonna do it, and it's gonna be good." And like it was good. It was handled great. I loved it. It was awesome. Honeybee Inn was dope, but there are some things where people are like, yeah, we're still going to do it. And I guess we'll just have to sit back and wait and see what they do with it. I feel like it's less common now, though.
Oh, you got to think of the market we're in for remasters, remakes now. It's like make the safest, most profitable thing possible. So, yeah, it's definitely less common now.
Yeah, I remember the Metal Gear collection had a disclaimer on the front of it, too, for like a lot of the sexual things in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to do that, I completely agree with putting a disclaimer on there and owning up to the fact that you wouldn't do this now, but keeping it.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if it is it's a port you're bringing forward, or if it's remaster, do whatever you want to do, or remake, do whatever you want to do. But remaster, I'm kind of a fan of keeping the original vision, for better or worse. I'm just anti-censorship, I guess.
I mean, you can keep all the stuff in there, but if you know if it's something that wouldn't fly nowadays, just put it in there. Just be like, hey, man, we know this ain't great.
Like, heads up, you're going to blast civilians when you get in this airport and they say no Russian. Just heads up.
Did they put one in there?
The way they did, they completely changed it. They pushed out, bro.
Okay.
I mean, you're still in an airplane smoking people, but you smoke like 3 people. It's not as
jaw-dropping.
There was a disclaimer in the original game, though, but it was very vague.
Yeah.
It was really vague until you got there and you were like, oh. Anyways.
You just want to wrap this up with like each picking a game we would like to see?
I was going to say, do you guys have any last thoughts on how you feel like this has affected collecting? Okay. Is it a good or a bad thing?
I feel like initially I was really excited when these first started coming out. The longer it's gone on, there's more mistakes and misses, and there is games that are like, that was a great remaster or remake. I feel like the good ones kind of get overshadowed by the shitty ones, unfortunately. Like, Devil May Cry 1 was terrible. Metal Gear, these are all ones I should be really excited for as a fan. Like, so I'm not going to sit there and, obviously I'm extremely excited for Final Fantasy VII Part 2. But even then, it's like, I shouldn't be worried about Silent Hill 2 Remake. I should be extremely excited about Silent Hill 2 Remake. And I'm over here like, I don't know if they're going to do it justice. And that's a really shitty feeling where these should all be slam dunks. Like, this is probably the easiest thing to do is remake something that's beloved, bring it into modern times. But somehow they've fucked that up so bad for everyone that I'm not excited for that. So, kind of bitter. That's kind of my overall feeling, honestly. It's very frustrating as a consumer.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement. I think it's very much case by case, and I can't even say you can trust developers at this point. You look at things like, hey, we really needed a modern way to play Quake 1 and 2, and we got them. And then you look at things where it's like you're saying, it should just easily be a home run. Like, I remember when they redid Mafia 1, right, and it's built from the ground up, and then 2 is just a port, but it's a broken port. There's no consistency between anybody.
Right, the same studios.
And even for collecting purposes, like, you can still buy Mafia 2 on 360, throw it in your backwards comp, and it's going to be fine. It is so case by case for me where it's like, you literally have to be like, well, we'll just wait and see. And you know what? If there's something you want remastered, it's probably going to happen just because the way the industry is now. We're at the point where my frustration is we have no creativity anymore. The well is dried. And I feel like it's not just in games, it's in movies, but that's a whole nother rant too. It's frustrating for me because we have this great technology, these new consoles, and the IPs that we're getting that are new are so few and far between where it's like, you know what? Fuck you, you'll buy it. And that's the philosophy of modern gaming.
Yeah, I think that the amount of remakes and remasters we're in is just a complete show of how capitalist it's turned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to talk about how companies are reporting record profits, and then every day you hear about layoffs.
Yep.
And every day you hear about layoffs and layoffs. We're making so much money, but we got to cut costs, and it's just a downtime right now. And now all these studios that these companies have bought up, they've turned them into just port machines.
Mhm.
Everyone's creativity is stifled there. They can't make anything new, and they're just expected to push out shit to make them more money. And then when that shit doesn't make them as much money as they wanted, they just cut the people.
They blame the workers who worked their ass off to get this game out in 6 months.
Yep.
Why didn't that work? It's just all-time classic friends. It's got to be these developers. Fucking fire them all. Like,
I mean, and it's obvious. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen the stuff circulating around about how Lethal Company has sold more than Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, people don't want this anymore. It's the same shit over and over. Like, everyone's turning to indie games because there's so much more creativity and new things to discover there. And it's true.
I was going to say, I think this remakes and remaster stuff, it's going to lead to the fall of like modern AAA gaming that we know. These games are getting so expensive to make, and that's why they keep pumping out remakes and remasters, because it's cheaper. But yeah, like you're saying, all the creativity is in these AA, which we saw a lot of good AA games last year. It's going to take a step back in the best way possible.
The AAA releases last year that were truly like new IPs,
But broke out.
there was none.
Yeah.
There was absolutely not a singular one
I think
in
they
a
all
AAA
tanked.
scope.
Like, Starfield sold well, but like, that's a disappointment for sure for a lot of people. So it's like there's nothing that really broke out.
The one new one, it was an utter disappointment. What else was there?
Forspoken,
Utter disappointment.
Redfall,
Immortals of Avium, utter disappointment.
they're all
Redfall, utter
bombs.
disappointment.
Like, financially, Starfield didn't bomb, but like, yeah, the rest of them were bombs, dude. Like, it's so scary to like.
The last thing I could think of was Deathloop,
Was that 2 years ago, though?
That wasn't last year, yeah.
but that's the last thing I could think of.
Yeah, a successful one, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't a pre-existing series or a sequel or something.
Even though it's in a Dishonored universe,
Is it really?
technically.
Is it like?
It's like way in the future, but like technically.
I'll let it slide. It's a new IP.
Yeah, it seems a little far.
Still, I get what you're saying though. Yeah, I think we're gonna go back.
Nothing.
We're gonna go back to the point where it's like AA games are gonna make a comeback because it's
So
the
then
only way
that's
these
what,
people
and
can
that's why.
afford to make them
Honestly, at this
with
point,
the profits they want.
I'm honestly okay with switching over to digital. If this is what I have to expect from the big company consoles, like I'm over it. I'm not buying your console for this shit no more. I'm just gonna buy these cheap $20 games on Steam and have a great time with people who actually give a fuck about making games.
Yeah,
It's sad that we're at that point.
And it's like the developers aren't doing anything wrong. Like they have their jobs to do, and they're doing
They got
what they're
families
supposed
feed,
to be
bro.
told to do.
right.
But the problem is everybody on a board who wears a suit has no idea what it means to be creative, because all they can do about thinking about creativity is playing fucking golf. But
Yep.
It's really scary. It's in a collective sense, the future barrier. You're kind of hitting on it. It's like, man, we have physical games this generation, but they're already kind of dying too. Like,
they're already dying. I'm already
scary.
switching, boys.
Yep.
I'm not quite ready to switch yet, but I don't buy new games really. Like, I'm gonna buy Final Fantasy VII new because I already pre-ordered it with the collector's edition. But like, I don't, especially the last couple of years, and every single year goes by, like, I buy less and less brand new games. Like,
Yep.
especially full price, can't justify it, dude. Fuck that. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I know it cost you $10 million to make, bitch. It cost me $70 to buy. I can't do that. Like,
It's really like those 1, 2, 3 new games a year I'm gonna buy from big companies, and then I'm buying all this little stuff on Steam.
it's like heartbreaking. Like, let's put all of our favorite studios out there. Like, okay, Square's doing a lot better than they were a couple of years ago, but they were kind of hitting a rocky road.
They were
Like, you know what I mean? They was scary for a minute for Square.
I don't think it was super scary, but I don't think they knew what.
Shout out
where
to
to
their
go.
MMO to keeping them afloat.
I would say I think also these smaller
Yeah.
studios know that somebody's going to just swoop in and buy them.
Well, even these
and then
big
make them work
studios
on
are-
Call of Duty.
These big studios are fucking up. Like, Cyberpunk was a huge commercial success, but like, man, not really. Like, they took them 2 years to turn that game around. Like,
Well, here's the thing:
Bethesda fucked up. Like,
I feel like people in game studios are people who have been there for a long time, right? It's not super. It's more common for me to hear about people who have been at a studio for a long time, like a professional game studio. At the time that they probably got into game development and wanted to work for those studios for those games, streaming wasn't what it was now.
Mhm.
And I feel like streamers and YouTube and just social media and the internet as a whole has opened up the door for indie that indie would have never had.
absolutely.
Yep.
They would have never had marketing from big places. They would have never had any of
Back to
that. It's all
shareware
word of
days.
mouth. It's
Yeah.
all word of mouth. And this accessibility of information for them is just made is what Lethal Company is making more money.
Yep.
The game's not even finished.
Yeah. But I mean,
Surprise! Both games aren't even finished.
How much does it cost? $20?
It's $20.
Yeah.
They're still working on
Which
it.
pill is harder to swallow? You can really do the same Call of Duty game every year, or you can just pay $20 and they're going to keep fixing it and working on it.
Or they give you an honest timeline. They don't have to meet with board directors to put a game out. Cyberpunk's, it's like, hey.
I mean, look at Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
One guy.
Did everybody forget about Stardew Valley?
Yep.
He still puts updates for that
Right.
game.
And, they don't always hit their time, but that they're working on it because that's all they have to work on.
You cut him some slack because that's one guy. Like, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. It's like
There's not literally
like
80 people working on.
The only time you hear about these disaster early access Kickstarter games when these small studios try to be AAA studios, when they just put their game out, it's not a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
They're resounding successes, dude. Like, it's crazy that you trust a AA developer with 26 people more than you trust a AAA studio with 200 people working on just the graphics. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild times, dude.
And it's common. It's more common now. All these people are getting cut. They're making their own games, and guess who's siphoning all of the money out of the game industry? Everyone you fired.
Yep.
Everyone you fired is going out there and making their own games.
They're better fucking games. Like,
making their own
it's
studios.
that little Battlefield game that's like killing it.
What
Is that what I'm
The
thinking?
little Lego looking one.
Yeah, and
What's it
people
called?
like swarm to it.
It's not Lego. It's like Minecraft.
Yeah,
Battlefield.
but, like,
yeah.
Those are like, you have studios like, actually the last episode we talked about it, like Treasures like set out and made their own thing. They make, their Konami split offs and they went out and made their own quality studio. Like,
Yeah.
it's a thing and people do it and it's like, there's a reason.
I think video games are going the way of Hollywood. It's all remakes, remasters. It'll be a downfall. And we're going to go back to the Stone Age in the best way possible, quite frankly.
That's where we're at there too.
Yeah.
Which is digital future for collecting purposes, unfortunately, because it's cheaper to make.
Yeah, but good thing though is there is
Good thing I don't have every PlayStation game.
There's a vast many amount of physical games out there.
Right.
So
There'll still be collectors is the thing.
and you know what, boys? Emulation exists.
Yep. Arg.
I'm going to, for discretionary sake, say that you can only emulate games you own. So just tell them you own it.
Yep.
What do you need? A certificate of authenticity? I own the game.
I've got
I
my
don't
proof
have my
of
receipt
purchase.
for my PS1.
I got it. I don't have receipts for these games.
Yep.
You kidding me? Where am I supposed to prove that I own anything?
Yep.
It's at Brian's house.
Yep.
And then when you go look at Brian's house, it's at Nate's house.
Well, I have a physical copy, so I'll let Brian play it while I...
Yep.
It's not illegal.
I
I'll let
g-
someone borrow a
I
game,
g-
bro.
I gave him my BIOS files.
Shit, I gave
I own the
Blockbuster my
game.
copy. back in
Private
the
sale.
All right. We'll end it there. Next episode. Nate, I think it's yours.
Yeah, I think so too.
What are we looking at next?
The next game, their beloved Is It Worth It series, is the ultra rare, controversial Castlevania Legacy of Darkness for the Nintendo 64. It's a interesting game and a lot of reasons, which we'll go into a deep dive on in our next Is It Worth It episode.
And I'm just gonna put it out there. Nate's making me play this, and it's my first Castlevania game, so blame him if I don't like the
no.
series.
Start from the bottom, work
Nate
your way
Nintendo
up.
64 strikes again.
I can't help that my collection's top heavy for N64. It just kind of worked out that way. But, if you start from the bottom, work your way up, like you won't... Maybe it'll make you appreciate Symphony of the Night more.
Or I'll
once
just
you
never play it.
Well, I'm saying if you play this, you're gonna be like, this game's amazing compared to this. Like, yeah, because this one's not that good. But there's a lot of people out there recently that have said the N64 Castlevania gets kind of a bad flack. So,
Well, we're gonna find out on this next time on
Shouldn't let
Collecti-Bros
people lie to you.
podcast. But that's it for today. Tell us what you think of remakes or remasters. I think they're utter doo-doo. We can get rid of them. Thank you and bye.
Yep.
be selective.
Go indie. Fuck it at this point.
There's certain ones I want remade and remastered
Yeah.
still.
It's very much.
We're just not going to get those.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here, Seagull. Bye.
Bye.